Alright guys, so I'm wrapping up the draw tool. Obviously there are a few more tools such as construction line, ray, all these helix and all, but we'll see how we can utilize the rest of the tool in the upcoming videos. For now, let's keep the draw tool up to this much. Let's move on to the modify ribbon. In modify ribbon we have a lot of different options. Now let's first of all see how we can do the selection. So to select an object, let's say I want to select this, I just come over here and left click, so it's selected. If I want to select this, I select it again, keep on clicking, so it will be selected, right? Just you have to left click. Now since this is a complete block, so all of its components, I mean inside the circle we have few more circles and rectangle, all are selected by one click. Now let's say in the bedroom we have a nightstand, so if I try to click select it, I just left click and it selects my lamp. Now since this is not a block, you have to do it manually, all the selection. Alright, now talking about blocks, we'll cover the block thing in a separate video. Let's not focus on it for now, we'll focus only on selection. Okay, so just left click and selection, this is the one thing. Another option is you can left click and drag your mouse, so whatever is inside your drag, I mean whatever is inside the window, it will be selected. So if I press escape, left click, drag my mouse, now you'll see whatever items are inside the window, it will be selected. Alright, this whole wall, this window, this bed, these two lamps were inside. However, this a part of this was inside my window but not fully enclosed, so it won't be selected. This is a window selection, right? If we do it the opposite way, I mean from right to left, first of all we were doing from top to bottom, we'll do it from bottom to top. So if I left click and then select this, now you can see the difference, right? Whatever is crossed by the window, whether it is fully enclosed by the window or not, it will be selected. So you can see this whole wall is selected since this part was inside my window, right? So this is another selection, and you can notice the different colors. So it is green, and if I go from top to bottom, it is blue, and it will only select the objects which are inside, fully inside the window, right? But the other one, it will select everything whatever is touched by the window. So that's the two different types of selection we have in AutoCAD. The other selection is lasso selection. Now what is lasso? If you are familiar with what do you say, Photoshop and Illustrator tools, so we have lasso. So if you left click and drag your mouse, you can do a crazy selection like this, right? Just have to left click and hold and drag your mouse. Now similar to the window selection, it will only select the objects which are fully enclosed in the window. Now we can do it the other way from bottom to top, and it will follow the same rule that whatever it is touching the window, whatever is inside the lasso tool, it will be selected. So that's the lasso selection. Now if I right click and go to options and you come to selection, you have this option called allow press and hold, press and drag for lasso. You can either switch it on off, it's up to you. If you want to switch it off, you can uncheck it and then apply and OK to confirm. So that's it with the selection tool. Let's talk about move and copy. Let's quickly draw a dining table so we can keep it in our living room area. We have a dining space over here, so we will keep it over here itself. So for that you can either use line, polyline or anything. Let's go for polyline. Let's start from here, go for 3 feet, come down 4 feet, then we can snap the endpoint and press enter to finish. Right, single entity, nothing complicated. We have our dining table. Now we need to move it to the proper location. So for that, let's utilize our move command. So we'll click on move command, or else you can type in M and press enter. Now it says select object, so select your object, press enter, specify the base point. So either you can specify the center or any endpoint or this midpoint, any point you can specify. So what I'm going to do is I will specify my center. Now select and move it somewhere, let's say close to the window. Let's keep it over here. Very easy, nothing complicated. Just have to invoke the move command, then select your object, then move it wherever you want. Now let's say I want to copy this, so I will select this, can right click, and you can see both the tools move and copy are there. So you can say copy selection. It will again ask you for base point, so let's go for center and select, paste. Go for as much as copies as you want unless and until you press escape. So we don't want this much copies. I will just go for undo. So let's move on to the rotate tool that we have. So basically you can rotate your object around a base point. So let's see how we can do this. And if you can see, I have a toilet seat with the flush tank right over here. I want to move it into my bathroom space right on this part of my drawing. So just select this, then we go for move, select your base point, then I can come over here and I can keep it anywhere. Let's say I keep it here for now, press enter. Now let's zoom in a bit in that area, and if you want to rotate it like this way, or you can do different orientation right over here. So let's go for rotation. So I'll select it, go for rotate, specify my base point, and you can see I can easily rotate my object within my drawing area. Very easy, right? Nothing fancy. You can keep it here. Now for rotation, make sure your polar tracking is on, and you can set your tracking increment, so you can make it 45, 30, and I like to keep it on 90, so that's perfect. Also you can do one thing, that is you can increase the size of this thing. So how we can do that, we can actually select it, then we can go for scaling, and then you can specify the base point, maybe midpoint or something. I'll specify this as my base point, and as you can see, as I drag my mouse while holding the left mouse button, you can increase or decrease the size of your object. Let's say if I make it this much big, that doesn't make sense in this drawing, so I'll just undo that. So that's it with the rotate and scale command. Let's talk about the array command. So in array we have three different kinds of array. So let's start with the rectangular array. So alright, this is the chair that we want, and now what we can do is we can go for rectangular pattern. So let's go to modify panel, array, rectangular array, and as soon as you select it, it will ask you to select your objects. I will select this one and this one and then press enter. So by default you will be getting 4 column and 3 row rectangular array. Right, now you can see there are different options. We have column spacing, row spacing, and then the total column distance. We can change our column from here, so let's say 3 columns and 2 rows. Right, so we have changed the columns and rows, and you can see there is a associative uh, relation between my chairs. What does that mean is if I close my array and if I come to select any of my chairs, all of the chairs will be selected. See, if I select any one, all will be highlighted. That's the associative relation. Now to switch it off, what we can do is we can select the chairs like this and then come to home tab and go for explode. After this, you can select your chairs individually. And other array command, that is path array. So for path array, let's quickly draw a spline. So I'll take a spline and let's say I'll enter a spline like this. Move your object to your end of the curve like this, and then when we go for path array, I select it, my objects, press enter, select my path curve, and yeah, you can see how the object is going along with the path. Right, you can pretty much go for align items. If you want to change it, you can go for that. You can change the Z direction, and just like the rectangular array, it's also associative. So that means once I close the array, everything will be grouped. So again, you have to use the explode command to uh, make it individual objects. Right, so that was our path array. Let's focus on polar array. So for polar array, let's say we have a line which is going like this. Alright, so let's move on to polar array. It says select object, so I'll select it, press enter, specify the center point, so let's set this, and yeah, you get 6 items. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can change the rotation of these items from there. See, there will be no rotation if you uncheck rotate items, but if you check it, the rotation will be according to the center. Also you can increase, let's say go for 10, so we can go for more, let's say go for 15. You can see how the increase in number is adjusted accordingly. Right, so that's it with the polar array. Alright, so let's move on to the another modify tool that we have in AutoCAD, which is offset. So using the offset command is very easy. We'll use the offset command to create a few more internal walls inside my floor plan, which I have already done. The boundary of the floor plan is already there. We just have to do the internal walls. So the uh, we will utilize the offset command to do that. And so let's see, select this one and go for offset, or you can type off and enter. So it's already um, invoked, the offset command is invoked, then we type the distance. So for the distance, let's type 3 inches, and you can either go up or down. For for us, it will be up, right? Let's select the line, and from here go down up to here. Now select it, go to offset 3 inches towards right. We can do one more offset, I guess, over here. Select the line, start from here to 2 feet, then select the line, go for offset 3 inches and on the upper direction. Okay, just close the line. Perfect. Let's create some openings for windows and doors using the offset command. Alright, let's talk about the other modify command that we have in Autocad. So let's talk about mirror. So mirror is basically very easy. If you see the cue card, it creates a mirrored copy of selected objects. So if you select something, you can create a mirror of it using the axis, right? So let's see how we can utilize the mirror command in our floor plan and basically create a copy of this chair onto the other side. All right, so let's select that, go for mirror. Now we have to specify the first point, so let's say I specify the center of the uh, geometric table, and then if I hold my left mouse button and drag my mouse, you can see how the chair is arranging. Now this is because of the polar tracking, so make sure your polar tracking is on. And let's say I want to place it over there, so I'll just release my left mouse button, and then it will ask if you want to erase the source object. So in our case we don't want to erase it, so let's go for no. Just like it, we created a mirror. Now let's repeat this one more time. Select it, mirror. Let's say we want to place it like that. We don't want to erase it. Let's see what stretch is. So if you read the cue card, it stretches objects crossed by a selection window or polygon. Alright, we can stretch it. We can stretch our object pretty much. So before using that, I want to let you know that I want to stretch my this internal wall, and I want to increase it, let's say up to here. So let's first measure it here to here. It's 2 feet. Let's say I want to make it 3 feet, right? So how do we do that? Let's go for stretch and then cross selection, press enter, and let's say specify my base point right over here, and then go for 1 feet. That looks neat. And if I measure it now, it's 3 feet. So using the stretch command right over here, I have increased my internal wall uh, distance, and you can pretty much use it to stretch any drawing. Or now in order to use the lengthen, so if I select it, it asks me to select an object or measure. So let's say I want to lengthen this edge and press enter, and total length, let's say I want it for about 3 feet. Okay, and if I select this one or this one, see how it's giving it a length. A small edge is given a length of 3 feet. So if I measure this one from here, you can see it's 3 feet total, right? So that's how you can utilize your lengthen command. We most of the time we will be using trim or extend, so this is right over here. All right. Alright, so we are in the modify panel of AutoCAD. So far we have completed some of the tools in the modify panel. Let's see what trim tool is, and inside trim you can see there is another option called extend. So both of these tools are, let's say, opposite of each other. So trim basically cuts or trims the profile between two joints, you can say two objects, whatever you can call it. So let's see how we can utilize the trim command, and we can give the openings for our doors and windows in our floor plan. So let's activate the trim command. You can also type in TR and press enter to activate it. Now to activate it, yeah, so it's activated now. If you want to uh, the trick over here is you have to select a press enter once more time, so you will see select object to trim or shift select to extend. So uh, I want to trim it, so I will just drag it like this, drag it like this. So let's say you don't want to drag it, you can come to each line and do individually also. It's up to you, both the options are valid. So let's say I want to drag it, I want to drag it, I want to drag it. So that's it. So we have done our openings for doors and windows in our floor plan. Let's see uh, what extend tool is. So to exit the trim command, just press escape, and let's see what trim command is. So if we come to trim and press the arrow just after adjacent to it, you can see there is extend command. So press enter to activate it, and then if you come to a line and click, it will extend it to the nearest object. So like this, see, you can basically extend your lines. Now as I have said that it's opposite of trim, so you're gonna you can do it inside trim also. So let's say delete this, trim this, and if I press shift and now come to my line, the extend command will be activated on its own. So it's already written select object or trim or shift select to extend. Alright, working with our floor plan, I just realized that we haven't done any opening for let's say from the room to the bathroom. So I just figured it out that we can do a quick opening over here, and to do that I will utilize one of the modify tools. So let's pin this for now, and we see these two options which are break at point and break. So I will utilize these two in this tutorial, and um, we'll see how we can use these two commands. So if I select break at point, it asks me to select objects. Now let's say I want this one, and then it says specify first breakpoint. So let's say I want it here. That's it, done. So what has done is it has broken the lines into two individual parts. So this is for the one part and this is the other part. Now if I see just the adjacent line, so it's right now not broken, and you can see the difference that it has with the previous line. So yeah, that's the one part. And let's say I want to make an opening for the door, so we'll utilize break, and it again says select object, so I will select this one, and as soon as you do that, it starts to break your line like this. Now I don't want to break it from there because it by default it selects the point where you selected. So what I will do is I'll right click and go for first point, and then I will specify this as my first point, and the next point I will specify as 32 inches. That's it. That's the opening. So if I measure it from here, that's the 32 inches that I wanted. Now same thing we can repeat for this one as well. So select and specify first break point. So I want it here. Now it's broken. You can see I can select it individually. Now I can go to break, select this line, and then right click, go for first point, can specify first point, and when I come into here I can snap this end and say that both are equal. So right now if we measure that, that's absolutely what we wanted, right? Let's take a line and join these two. Alright, so the next tool that we will be seeing in modify panel is obviously it's just after the break at point, it's called join. So similar to join, let's say we have a line like this, okay, and we used break and we broke this point like this. Now let's say we don't want it, we can either undo that, or there is another tool in AutoCAD that is join. So it basically joins the two lines, but the main thing to notice over here is the both the lines should be collinear. It should not be like one is vertical and the other is horizontal. That is not possible with this command. So right now if we select first line and second line and press enter, it will be joined without any trace of break. So you cannot find the trace of a break anywhere. That's it with the break command. Very valuable, very useful, and yeah, that's it. Alright, so after cleaning all the extra lines and intersections, we can do a very important thing, that is join. So right now if I select this line, it's a single entity, and this one is other entity, so everything is a single entity. Now what we want is we want to join everything together. So let's select everything like this. In the modify panel, let's pin it, and you can either select join and everything will be joined, right? This is a single entity, this is a single entity, this as well. Now this is not yet joined, so we'll have to select this one again and go for join. So this is okay. Now this is okay as well. So everything is joined which we wanted. So that's with the join command, and this is a very common practice that we as a designer use when we are working on a floor plan. Alright. Okay guys, so after cleaning up my floor plan, I mean trimming all the excess lines and then joining all my polylines, here we are, and now what we can do is the basic thing that we as a designer do is we draw windows and doors. So for that, let's take rectangle and let's zoom in to this area, and from one corner to the other corner I can draw my windows just like that. And since we have to repeat the same command number of times, so we will just press enter to invoke the last command, and then we will press enter again, press enter again. I think this is the last window that we have to do. Yeah. Now after this it looks like a window, but one thing that we can do to our window is we can do some inside line so that it differentiates between the walls and the window. So for that, just take a line, zoom into your window from the midpoint of this edge to the midpoint of this edge, then press enter, and now it looks much better than just a normal window. So let's repeat that for this one also. Enter to invoke the last command, midpoint to midpoint. Press enter again to start the last command from midpoint to midpoint. Yeah, and I think this is the last one. So press enter to invoke the last line command, and from midpoint to midpoint. That's it. So yeah, that's how we can do windows and your floor plan. This looks pretty much neat and more convenient, right? Alright, so moving on with the modify tools that we have in AutoCAD, we are going to see fillet and chamfer, right? So for that, let's first draw something. So I'll select rectangle. I'll draw two random rectangles. If you want to track it, you can track it as well, like this. Now let's say we want to give a radius fillet to these rectangle, basically give it a corner. So how I can do it is either select fillet. Now it says select first object, so I will right click and first tell this that I'm going to give radius, so select radius. Now enter the value as, let's say, 10 inches. Alright, so it says now you can select first object, but before that let's go for multiple. So just right click and select multiple, and from here you can select your lines so you can get your fillet with those lines. Now this one is one of the methods to do fillet. The other method is also similar to it, but it's very easy. So for that, let's select fillet, right click, radius 10 inches, and again right click, go for a polyline and select your rectangle. So in just 3 clicks you created a radius fillet because it's of the same radii, so we can utilize this one. But if it's a different radius for each corner, then you have to do it one by one each corner, like that. So that's with the fillet. Same thing we can do with the chamfer as well. So let's say we have two rectangles similar to that, like this, and let's invoke chamfer. So we will right click and can see there are three different chamfer options. So we have angle, we have distance, and we have method. So distance is basically you define first and second distance, angle is first and second angle, and method is you can switch between angles and distance, like that. So let's say I want to give it a distance, so I will select it, and then it asks me to specify my first distance. So let's say 7 inches. The second chamfer distance is also 7 inches because it will be a 45-degree angle, and then I can right click and go for multiple and then keep on selecting my lines to get a chamfer, like this, right? The other method is you can select chamfer, right click, go for distance 7 inches, 7 inches, right click, select polyline, and just select your rectangle. So these are the two different ways of doing the same thing, basically doing the chamfer and the fillet. And yeah, that's it with the radius, and that's it with the fillet and chamfer in AutoCAD. Alright, so let's utilize the learnings of draw tool and modify tool to create a cool bathtub like this. And yeah, let's pretty much begin with the drawing. So let's start with a line, and I'm gonna specify my first point. So in this direction, let's say 2 feet 8 inches. Okay, and the downward direction we can go for 5 feet. Okay, then I will track my this point and draw it and finish it like this. Press enter. Alright, so this is our boundary of bathtub. Now we need to do some of the offset. So let's select offset and select this line, specify 3 inches and select this line, go in the inward direction. Similarly with this one, inward direction, keep the offset distance common. So just select it and inward direction, select inward, inward. Yeah, so that's it with the offset. Now we will draw some arcs. So for the first arc we'll select 3-point arc. Right, so let's say we will start from here, first point, second point and third point. We will repeat the same thing over here. So the first point, the second point and the third point. Alright, for the next arc we're gonna switch it to start, end and direction. Right, so we will start from here, end up to here, and for the direction just make sure you are touching the midpoint of this one, and that's perfect. Let's repeat it once more time. So start from here, end up to here, and for the direction make sure you are snapping the midpoint of this one. So after this we will utilize some trim tools to clear the excess. So select trim, press enter, and then you can drag like this to trim the excess. In case some of the lines are not trimmed, you can delete it obviously. Nothing to worry about that. Alright, so once you are done with the trim, you can escape it and then you can select individual lines and then delete it if they are not trimmed yet. Just select and press the delete button from the keyboard. So yeah, that's it. Now the last thing that we need to do for our bathtub is give it a radius fillet. So just now we saw how we do the radius fillet. So let's select fillet, right click and go for radius. Let's say 4 inches. Then right click and go for multiple, and then we can select all the different lines to give a nice fillet. Once you're done, press escape to opt out of the fillet command. So yeah, that's it with the design of bathtub. Very simple, very easy, and we have now almost completed the modify panel, and in the next chapter we will talk about the annotation panel. So yeah, up to then, if you have any doubts, feel free to comment down below, and subscribe if you are watching this, and peace out.